This is iRacing.
Hello, race fans, and good day to everyone tuning in around the globe. It's time for a classic street fight with some vintage open-wheel machinery. It's time that we turn back the clock on the iRacing time machine and visit a track that is no more in a car that hasn't raced in competition since 1979. That's right, folks. It's Detroit paired with the L79s for round number 9 of the Sunday Grand Prix Series. You'll see it all live here on iRacing as well as the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth is going to be Nicholas Hillebrand. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Nicholas, the Lotus 79 always provides us nonstop action, but these drivers, they either love or they hate this place.
Personally, I don't love or hate it. I adore it. Personally, Belle is, I think, my favorite street circuit in all of North America. And with the Lotus 79s, with a lot of ground effect, it should be quite tricky today with the bumpiness of the circuit.
It's going to be high downforce on full display, but let's find out more about this Belle street circuit with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Belle Street Circuit. Situated in a beautiful park on Belle itself, it rests in the Detroit River, sandwiched between the Motor City and Canada. With it being in the far north of the Midwestern United States, as you'd expect, harsh winters make this a bone-jarringly bumpy track. The 14 narrow corners only add up to a mere 2.3 miles in length, but it can tend to feel like a lot more just from the sheer stress of keeping your car out of the walls. Runoff is non-existent in the majority of corners, so mistakes tend to be punished with race-ending damage. The dangers include the tight and twisty fountain section with its rapid-fire set of bends, and the frightening turns 12 and 13, which end the lap with 2 swift kinks. However, the most notorious spot on the track is the exit of Turn 2, made famous by collecting the Corvette pace car into its hungry walls one year. The first 2 turns are a quick chicane, so the extreme change of direction, plus the rise in the track as it crosses over a creek, means grip and balance can disappear in an instant. While the setup of the car can sometimes help lessen the annoyance of the bumps a little, what this place all comes down to is driver skill and daring. Precision will pay off with the close proximity of the barriers. While it isn't a stroll in the park for drivers, fans get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery, all while watching some of the most thrilling racing an American street course has to offer.
Well, Nicholas, this is going to be an old-fashioned street fight, and why don't you walk us through one of your favorite tracks?
Well, located in Detroit, Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Chevrolet and Ford, one of the local places here, of course, and Detroit, the Motor City. I think very vibrant, especially with Detroit, with the Belle circuit here. Champ Car went here, the American Le Mans Series went here, all of them had fantastic races here. Opened in 1982, 2.35 miles or just under 3.8 kilometers long with 14 corners. And of course, very, very bumpy, but the scenery is lovely, the rhythm of the track is lovely, and I cannot really say anything other than that. You can't use too many words to describe an absolute piece of art, in my opinion.
It's a fantastic facility, and like I said, it will be an old-fashioned street fight out here with tons of concrete walls. Drivers are going to have to be very careful of limiting the damage on their cars. But we also have a couple of championships that we're going to go ahead and take a look at Here in the Lotus 79s, we have what's called the F1 and the F2 Drivers Championship. They're only separated by the driver's iRating. Right now, it is Togo Hisada leading the way 24 points ahead of James Berry. But then look at the huge amount of fall off between those two drivers. Gernot Friesche, also known the best that ever was here in the 79, sitting third place in that championship. Another big gap back to Karthik Pai inside the top four. Daniel Gallus also sitting in fifth place. Mickey Friesen, Taylor Lane, Jack David Spickett, Dylan Freckleton, and Jean-Francois Boscus make us up through the top 10 of that championship. But Nicholas, like I said, we also have those F2 drivers.
Absolutely. Also taking up a big part of the field. Simon Steinbild is leading right now with 349 points. Only 4 points behind, however, Keith Herner and Matthew Cockerham right behind that as well with 43 points behind the leader. Connor Levy and Alec Classic are in 4th and 5th place, then Gord Janot and Barry West in 6th and 7th. And finally we have Manning Grinnen, Kurt Klapper and Thomas Tuber rounding out the top 10.
Not only do we have the drivers F1 and F2, but we also have a cool teams championship that we put together here for the Lotus 79 community. Team Essex Lotus, 24 points ahead of Albalad Williams Racing. Then we saw third place down here with the Renault Elf, only 4 points out of second place there. Candy Team Tyrrell in fourth place with the Marlboro Team McLaren. That's a tongue twister. I can never pronounce Marlboro right. And then as you see, Unipart Racing Team, Scuderia Ferrari, as well as a few more is all included here inside of the top 10 of that team's championship. And then one more final thing we need to cover here is actually going to be the race details, Nicholas.
Absolutely. And with that, we are quite well off here today. We have the round 9 of 12, of course. Last time we were at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. This time we're here for 26 laps, completely open setups. There's no spare car, so if you bin it, if you get a little bit too close to the walls, that's completely over. A drive-through is here at 17x. You're not likely to get, let's say, an off-track here, but very easily a loss of control or a contact here. And the disqualification is at 25x, so people will have to pay attention to their surroundings.
It is going to be a tough one. I always consider the street circuits kind of like racing the racetrack itself. Kind of consider Detroit in the same boat that Long Beach is in. But if you like these tight and twisty types of racetracks where there is zero margin for error, buckle up because it is going to be a wild 26 laps with these Lotus 79 cars. They are in the middle of qualifying right now. They've got 8 minutes to qualify. It looks like we're ticking down about 3 minutes remaining. The majority of the field has actually set down their 2 qualifying laps that will set the grid. A few more cars still out there. Mikko Lano, currently our provisional pole sitter with a 1:18.661. James Berry sitting in second place with Nick Thyssen here in third. The one car that I've got my eye on right here is the number 2 car. Togo Hisada has not put down a lap time yet. He is actually just going to start his first of the 2 timed laps just now. You saw him put down a 1:19 there, but that was kind of the first practice lap. It's really going to be up to this one to kind of put his time on the board.
Yeah, indeed. And last week around, we had Togo Hisada and Pepe Fuentes with a race-long battle over the green hell, with Fuentes trying to make a move into Schwalbenstraße at the very end of the lap. Hisada was able to get back past on the long Döttinger Höhe, and then Fuentes actually did a bit of an attempted dive bomb, had to try and pull out, but both of them went across the line spinning through the last corner. So dramatic finish last time around, and I think this time again, Hisada is looking at very, very good speed overall. He's one of the very knowledgeable guys around here in these historics, and especially around a circuit like this, you need to know your car like the back of your hand.
He is leading that points championship, so of course he's going to be towards the front of the field. I had mentioned that it was kind of a practice lap, that previous attempt, but no, that was his first time lap, and must have picked up an incident point somewhere because that 119 was disallowed, not even on the board. So round the final corner here. Let's see what Togo Hisada can put down. A 118.78. Not good enough for pole position, but it will slot him onto the front row in second place.
Right behind Mikko Leino. And as we saw him, push into the first two corners, I don't know if you recall that, because it's, well, almost 10 years ago now. It's 7 years ago now. When IndyCar went in 2018, they had the rolling starts. We actually had the pace car crash in the first two corners. So they had to completely redo everything with the rolling start and get a replacement pace car in. I think it was the CEO, someone in senior management of GM driving it, put the throttle down right over this bump that Dylan Freckleton is going over right now and just spun it into what's, from our viewpoint, the right side wall and completely totaled that thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of an oopsie back there during that event. And as we saw Dylan Freckleton, he was able to put a nice second lap in, puts himself fifth on the board right now. And I think that's going to pretty much do it for our qualifying effort. Get this great blimp shot overhead of what makes up the Belle Isle Street Circuit as we get our official grid ready to go. It is the number 4 car on your pole. That will be Mikko Leino. He is going to be leading this field to the green flag with a time of 1:18.661. Togo Hisada lined up in second place. James Berry and Nick Thyssen will share row number 2 and 3rd and 4th. Dylan Freckleton lined up 5th with Taylor Lane next to him in 6th place. Timothy Reed in 7th with Lucas Lodato in 8th. Gernot Frisha in 9th, and then Aaron Blair rounds out your top 10.
Next up, we're starting from 11th place, which is Shady Ahmad. We're joined by Mickey Friesen in the 6th row. Pepe Fuentes, 2nd place last week, only 13th in qualifying this week, in front of Gabri Martinez. Next up, we have Christoph Olejniczak. I hope I spelled that correctly or said that out correctly. In front of Daniel Gallis in row 8. Jean-Francois Bossou in row 9, joined by Javier Mosquera. And Kurt Klapper and Parker J. Steele in the 10th row.
We've got the big cat bringing out the claws in 21st place. That's Barry West. Next to him is going to be the unicorn machine of Bjorn Ackerman. Mike Rossamus here in 23rd with Keith Herner in 24th. Matt Cockrum lined up 25th. Alec Cunningham in 26th. Jack Wells 27th. Joss Ghislaine in 28th. And Yanni Lehman make up the 29 cars. That is our Lotus 79 field. And actually, we've got the lights on the racetrack right now, patiently waiting for the green flag to drop. And there it goes. A great start from our pole sitter. Mikko Leino gets out scot-free, but it's actually our 3rd place car, James Berry, with a huge run up the outside of turn number 1 as the rest of the field goes through what is turns 1 and 2. Our number 4 car out front with a great breakaway. And like I said, Togo Hisada was the one on the back foot. He's charging up the outside now, trying to regain that 2nd place as we got a little bit of a problem in the back. I believe that involved the number 1 car of Gernot Frisha.
Really, really lucky. I saw that the rear wing was gone already, and I think in the braking zone that must have been some sort of misunderstanding between 2 of the drivers, and let's hope that it was not multiple people that got hit there. Oh, and that was, I think, a mischief from... That was a mischief from Barry. Hisada shoots past into 2nd place, but Thyssen also right next to him on the inside can't quite make it stick, I think, but Hisada goes wide, keeps it out of the wall, though.
What a change for position. So now Togo Hisada leads this race out front, and I believe it is the number 4 car of Mikko Leino right now that is sitting there in the 2nd place position. So we're just waiting. It's actually Nick Thyssen sitting there in the 2nd place position with James Berry sitting in 3rd place. We're just waiting for our timing and scoring to kind of refresh itself. Here comes a move down the inside of Togo Hisada. This is Nick Thyssen making a move into turn number 1. Togo's going to hang tough on driver's left and now hang tough once again through the apex of turn number 2. It's a drag race going down to what is turn number 3. Nick Thyssen on the inside.
Yeah, but look at Barry having slipstream as well, but he doesn't have a place to go. Hisada late on the brakes around the outside, uses all of the curb and more, but can't quite stay alongside Thyssen.
And just waiting, I know, folks, that the timing and scoring is not representative right now, so this is going to be pretty interesting to call it. And I am getting word that the number 3 car is actually in second place. And you're right, Christian is working behind the scenes, and this is our leader, Mikko Leno, way out front. This is something we didn't even catch. He is, 5 seconds out in front of Nick Thyssen as well as Togo Asada.
He just went out of there. He had a good start, basically saw that, Togo didn't have a great start, and basically went, okay, you guys fight, I'll just do my own thing. Have fun, guys.
My goodness. So Mikko Leno is just a rocket out front right now. That last lap time, a 124 point, or I'm sorry, a little bit faster than the rest of our field here. So just waiting for the rest of them to come through. And yeah, sure enough, nearly 1.6 seconds faster, a 119.9 compared to a 121.6. In fact, Togo Asada, a 122.0. I mean, that is a huge amounts of time faster. I wonder if he's still running on a qualifying setup with no fuel in the car, because that is huge amounts of lap time.
I mean, they've settled back in, and the gap is coming down a little bit, so maybe it was mainly just gaining time from, everyone else fighting behind him. But, well, the gap is going back up. I stand corrected. It's, it's surely a complete mystery here. Maybe he also just loaded in a completely different race setup, and found something in the setup work that, the others have not quite discovered yet.
And, sorry for being a little bit baffled back here, but this is typically something we see more out of a qualifying pace. So I wonder if our leader in the number 4 car just might have forgot to put fuel in the car. But I also wonder if he's just this gosh dang good around Detroit. And I mean, here's our answer right here. He's already completing lap number 3, and he is yet to come in. And we've got a problem with Togo Asada somewhere in the field. Oh. I see the number 2 car fully dropping down the order. He has got heavy damage on the front of his car, and he's parked in pit lane.
Yeah, James Barry's coming into pits as well, so there must have been an incident there. Asada was missing the rear, and I think Barry might have been missing the front or had front suspension issues. So, oh my goodness, I think that there might have been an accident there. I hope we can get a replay of that.
Yeah, and I went back and looked at it on my screen, folks. It was Togo Asada making a self-mistake, just going way too deep into what I believe was, call it the turn number 12 area. And I think we're going to actually get a look at the replay here. So watch the black car, and just missed the braking marker, destroys the car on the outside of the track. And then Nicholas, like you said, I believe that was Nick Thyssen, who pretty much had nowhere to go.
James Barry. Nick Thyssen was right in front of him, got lucky there. I mean, both of them in Ferrari liveried cars, so, it was 50-50 in that situation. Lotus and the Ferrari sandwich. But, really unlucky for Togo Asada. And for James Barry, of course, as well, no way for him to go. No spare car, so he's going to have to wait and get that full damage repair in. But Mikko Leno still 119.5, so it's 7/10 faster than the fastest lap of Nick Thyssen right now.
It's crazy. Wow, look at Tim Reed stick tough on the outside here, using that red number 5 car on driver's left, but unfortunately turn number 2 is not going to be his fortune. He's got a little bit what seems like a lower downforce in the car, so top speed wise was actually pretty good down the straightaway towards turn number 3. So Shady Ahmad, that's the 3rd car in line. He thought that he was going to get a position going down into that brake zone, but Timothy Reed and the top speed of that number 5 car were able to defend. So now it's Mickey Friesen here in this blue and red, it's kind of silly Nissan-themed Lotus 79 here, leads this trio down what is the back straight, kind of arc it into this curving brake zone of turn number 7. Oh, Friesen was a little bit wide through there, and you saw kind of the 4th, 5th place car in this train. That's Gabri Martinez, as well as Shady Ahmad having some rear traction issues in the fountain section.
Yeah, just a bit too aggressive on the throttle, and I hope it didn't break the rear suspension for him, because he did hit the wall there. It seems to be relatively straight, but I could be wrong. No, I think there's a little bit of damage. Look at him trying to struggle to keep it straight. Keeps going, and I think actually touched the wall a little bit, but I mean, it's looking not too bad after all. So let's hope that it wasn't anything big, and he can keep going.
Yeah, hopefully that he didn't kind of bang that rear suspension upright into that concrete wall. So as long as there wasn't any sort of heavy contact, Shady should be able to get back going out on the racetrack. And this was one of those cars that actually kind of was able to avoid the incident. And I think we're going to look at the original start here. So kind of look in the middle of the pack. Oh, on the left side of the screen, that's the number 20 car getting into the back of Gernot Freesia, and the 20 was Aaron Blair. So he's actually retired from the race, and you saw the damage on Gernot Freesia's machine with no rear wing.
Freesia's still going, actually, so kudos to him actually keeping it going. And well, I mean, normally I'd say that you need your rear wing around here, but maybe the ground effect on this car is enough to just keep it going normally, or it's just the absolute skill that Freesia has, of course. You know, the guy that won the most races in this series here so far, but just as I say it, my goodness!
Well, I think Gernot's putting on display why he has the most wins of all time out of anybody here in the 79s. I mean, you look at the stat sheet and he is way up there compared to anybody. He has more seat time in these machines than probably everybody kind of put together. And he is out there racing Detroit with no rear wing. We just saw him step out probably, a good 60 degrees of yaw angle in there through turn number 2. Once again, just hanging the tail out. But he's managed to put this number 1 car last lap time of 1:23. So he's actually competitive in comparison to the cars that are running around him, while Barry West is directly in front trying to make a look at Jack Wells.
My friend, I'm honest, like, in the first part of the 80s, they were trying around a lot with, you know, what you actually need for aero elements when they had ground effect going on before the turbo era. So they got rid of front wings, they got rid of rear wings, but like generally, like if they got rid of the rear wing, they got rid of the front as well. All for drag reduction and just having ground effect then, but I didn't see a car yet that was able to go that fast without a rear wing, but still the front wing attached.
He is making it work out there as we take a look on board here with the Big Cat. I love a lot of these vintage racers here in the community. They like the immersion factor, the realism factor. So here we got virtual reality. Not only the VR setup, but he's got the H pattern shifter, so he is using that right hand. You see him just kind of lifting off of the throttle, and I'm sure they'll probably use the clutch maybe on downshifts in this car. Big Cat taking a look down the inside. That was a forceful move. Now he's stuck way out wide in turn number 2. Almost contact there between the two of them. And so now Barry's going to be down the inside of the brake zone of what is turn number 3 here. Nice and stable on those downshifts, but Jack Wells is one tough customer. He does not want to get past. I think Barry's finally going to complete it, but no, an over-under from the car behind. Almost a little bit of contact going into what was turn number 5 on this racetrack, and I think Barry is finally free of, call it now, that 3-pack behind him.
Yeah, and that gap opened up a way for our rear wingless record holder as well. Still going strong, and now actually closing in on the car ahead. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around, you know, how he's having to drive that car to make it work, or if the setup is just that well optimized that he wasn't really using the wings anyway. But look at that, in the middle of the corner, just counter steering while still giving some throttle.
Mr. Freesia is having, well, I don't know about a fun time. He's having to manage the car out there, but I think if he goes back and looks on it and is like, you know, I was in top split racing against competitors, and I had a damaged car with no rear wing. That's a pretty cool feat in amongst itself. So we'll let Gernot get to work back here. I have a feeling that it is going to be a very, very busy race. But what is not a busy race is for this driver right here. This is our leader, Mr. Mikko Leno. He currently has 9 seconds on the field. And Nicholas, I was just kind of looking back on his lap times. he's actually cooled it off. He started out doing like 119.5s. His last lap time was a 119.6. He's throwing a 120 in there, kind of in the middle of it. I don't think that this driver is actually going 10/10ths right now. I think he's just kind of doing laps and just whatever apexes come to him are thrown together.
It's really, really unusual to see someone, this confident with the car, doing this kind of pace and not, well, it's still having some to spare, so to say. But I think you might be right there. He's just that confident, he's that comfortable as well with the car. And when you have a car that suits perfectly around the bumps of Belle Isle, I don't think, a lot can really stop you other than a wall.
And to kind of put the performance into perspective as we watch this good mid-pack fight here. So our leader's last lap time was 0.3, almost 0.4 off of his fastest. So he turned a 119.8 that previous time by. The entire rest of the field, nobody is in the 119s. Second placed at a 120.4. So if our leader is 0.4 off of his fastest and still the only car doing 119s, I think it just kind of shows everybody how fast that red number 4 is today.
Yeah, absolutely astonishing speed. On board again with Shady Ahmad, Democratic Republic of Congo driver that had a spin actually at this upcoming section earlier, but seems to have recovered a little bit since then. A lot more hesitant this time on the throttle while he's looking down the exhaust pipes of, that is Matthew Cockram and Keith Herner up ahead, as they're going through the last couple of corners here. And don't know what Cockram is doing, but both of them just fall to the side a little bit. Maybe a little bit of desync for some debris.
Maybe just missing an apex a little bit too. The car that you were just mentioning in front of him of Matt Cockram. I'm going to say it one more time because I said it a few weeks ago. So it's personal. Oh, Shady just kind of into that right side wall as he was trying to get the run down the back straightaway here. Let's see if he's going to make the move, and then I'll mention the paint livery. Nice out-braking maneuver from Shady Ahmad down the inside, so moves him up into 16th. But my long-winded point about Matt Cockram is that he's got a KISS livery, like the old band, the old rock band KISS. But the only problem is that he doesn't have a KISS-themed face paint on the helmet. So, Matt, if you go back out there and watch and listen to this broadcast, that's the next step to this KISS-themed livery, is get the face paint on the helmet.
I mean, I think it would be quite fitting to have, the face paint of Gene Simmons on there. My goodness, but instead he kisses the wall for a moment, but is able to keep it together. That is, woo. I was going to be sure that with that angle, normally the rear wheel would be torn off, but he got lucky there. Pepe Fuentes, meanwhile, the man of the big sends last week, very, very impressive last send into Schwalbenschwanz, also looking to gain some position. I think he's gained about 6 so far. And not quite making a move quite yet, but still looking.
Well, Nicholas, I'm glad that you threw out a great pun there about Matt Cockram kissing the wall out there. I'm not sure if you even caught that one, but a good pun. Joe Peak would be very proud as we watch the replay here. Shady Ahmad, I'm sorry, that's not the replay, that's live in the picture. So Shady moving up one more spot on the board after he got by that car of Matt Cockram. So we ride on the nose here of Pepe Fuentes, who's currently sitting in 8th place. He's actually had a pretty good start here, up 5 positions. That's Timothy Reed directly in front in that red number 5 car, and he's got Mickey Friesen in that blue and red Nissan-themed number 16. So a good little trio here trying to work their way forward. In fact, the only one that stayed stagnant is actually Timothy Reed, right exactly where he qualified. So Pepe Fuentes trying to get around him.
Yeah, a lot of movement throughout the entire field. Also helped by, our loss of James Berry and Togo Hisada early on in the race. Also Aaron Blair, who rear-ended Gunnar Fritsch as well earlier. Fritsch now also dropping down a little bit, down to 21st. So the rear wingless driving slowly starting to get to him, which is obviously not the best, measure of consistency when you constantly have to make up for a complete lack of downforce, since the rear wing is not damaged, it's gone.
Yeah, it's interesting, but yes, the lower you got the downforce, the faster you're going to go, but you need the wing back there in order to provide the confidence that the driver needs to attack on the racetrack. So it's definitely the double-edged sword of having to balance that top speed versus oversteer and grip you got in the cars. We check in on third place driver Taylor Lane, is actually getting a little bit of pressure from that purple number 8 of Dylan Freckleton. Taylor providing us some in-sim rig shots. We saw Barry West have the virtual reality. Now, I'm always a fan of taking a look at everybody's setup here. I see that Taylor's using 3 pedals. I see that he's got a triple monitor setup as well, and that's actually what I prefer to race with, Nicholas. I don't know what you've got. Have you tried virtual reality versus the triple monitors at all?
I've got virtual reality and triple monitors, but I think I have to get a better graphics card first, as we have Fuentes! Oh! Once again making a move down the inside, and Reed getting spun around. That was... Oh, that is half of the... Yeah, that is basically half of the ground effect generating side pod gone there. The side skirt completely ripped off. I wonder if that was a little bit of netcode as well, because it looked... It's honestly slightly odd how that developed there.
Yeah, and remember, Pepe had been moving his way forward, so here's the replay. The number 6 car shows the nose, and I looked at it from my chopper overhead, and this definitely looks like Pepe Fuentes got into the right rear, and I'm sure that Timothy Reed is saying, hey, don't hit me into the brake zone. I kind of deserve that corner, but I also feel like he presented the car that Timothy Reed probably could have made his way through the corner if he left Fuentes space. But, of course, you don't want to give up a position in the middle of a battle. That's how we all are as racing car drivers.
Yeah, it is a difficult one, because in that moment, you're also focused on trying to stay right behind the car ahead. And I think maybe just a little bit of... confusion in that moment, thinking that there was more space there, that Fuentes wasn't quite alongside yet, but I think there will be some words after the race, unfortunately, between the two. And oh, that is a very big one. Parker Steele barely able to avoid that, and I think that was Herner, if I saw that correctly.
Yeah, and I think I see Timothy Reed is officially out as as Daniel Gallus is making a move here. Looks like Parker Steele is also involved in this one. Javier Mascara in that, call it Rouge-themed number 13, leading this 3, now 4-pack. Kurt Clapper is also back there. I think we're going to take a look at the replay of exactly what happened to this number 5. Remember, he's had a few little extracurricular activities, might have had some damage from that right rear contact, and that was heavy impact, and unfortunately, when you're sitting in that blind area, cars are coming at you probably at about 100 miles an hour or even faster in that section.
And I think, as we saw earlier, the side skirt was ripped off. This car, of course, very, very famous for being, the first real ground effect car. Well, not quite real, but 78, the predecessor car, did this stuff first. But this was the first properly optimized ground effect car. And, losing one of those side skirts, absolutely catastrophic for grip. And, well, the second hit there from Steele really sealed the fate of that Ferrari liveried example. Somehow, I think Steele might have gotten away from it with it. I think there might have been, netcode smiling upon him this evening.
I think the biggest question about today is Lucas Lodato is looking really cool exiting turn number 6 out there, wagging the tail, putting the power down. Sometimes that is also about being a racing car driver, is how cool you look out there on the racetrack. But Lucas is actually very successful in these open wheel cars, especially more in the modern stuff. I know did a ton of the iRacing special event Indy 500 stuff, was in the top splits over there in those broadcast races. So Lucas Lodato maybe hanging out in 5th place here in these Lotus 79s, but definitely in, call it a Formula Car superstar here on the service. A little bit of a battle, though, right behind him. side by side. Pepe Fuentes is going to grab another position, so he gets his way by Mickey Friesen, up 7 positions for the number 6 car.
Yeah, this time without contact entirely, he was able to make the move through the last couple of kinks of the lap. But now a bit of slipstream, so has to look a bit in the rearview mirror to watch that Friesen isn't coming too close. But seems to be clear for now. So yeah, Pepe Fuentes, really fast guy, knows how to get around other drivers as well. But also, I just saw on the sideboard, howdy my friends. What are you looking at? Well, absolutely wonderful livery. And I think, oh, that is Shady Amart again. I think that might be damaged this time, or it might be an overheated tire.
Tough to tell, but I know that Shady has kind of been in recovery mode ever since he spun it around early in the race. So I think he was overtaking Kurt Clapper a little bit further back there, and I think that's Jean-Francois Boscus is that second car in line as we watch Pepe Fuentes. I guess we've got 9 laps to go. My big question here with Pepe Fuentes and how much he's been able to move through the field so far, can he chop down another 3.5 seconds to go catch that car of Lucas Lodato and make himself a nice top 5 finish for the day? It is going to be really tough because the further you move your way forward in each one of these races, well, guess what? Everybody gets faster and faster, and those passes get more and more difficult. So he's got a big mountain to climb to go catch a top 5.
Yes, indeed. 3 seconds now. And Lodato, of course, in front of him is not a slow driver either. Freckleton in front of that, also quite far away still. So I think a top 5 might be possible. 9 laps to go, and I think Tom Lane might be, well, depends on how much Tom Lane and Freckleton fight, you know, but I think Fuentes could still look at a, maybe even if he gets it, you know, better together, could maybe even look at a podium, honestly.
Well, Nick Thyssen is hoping for a problem out of our leader because Nick has just had one lonely race out there. He is 13 seconds behind our leader, but call it 7.5 seconds ahead of what is third place. So it really does feel like a practice session here for this number 3 car. And I notice our producer, our director, put in our kind of behind-the-scenes chat that maybe Togo Hasada could have kept up if he had a little bit of clean air in second place and maybe would have been able to attach himself to the back of our leader. It's tough, right? It's always the battle of what ifs. And now Togo Hasada, obviously previous series champion, current championship points leader. You would think that he's got the speed to go catch Mikko Leno. But Mikko has just been on a mission. And I mean, his laps are qualifying laps out here. I couldn't believe in those first 2 to 3 laps, he gapped it out. What was it, Nicholas? Like 6 seconds over second place? I think that's really where that number 4 car jumped out and took a good charge in a hold of this lead as Dylan Freckleton now is trying to attempt that pass on Taylor Lane that you were mentioning.
That was tight. That was tight. Lane was really trying to, well, close off the gap there, and Freckleton was, well, he basically just said, okay, no, there's still a gap to go for, and I will go for that gap that exists because I'm still a racing driver. So yeah, absolutely insane running there, going through the tiniest gap there. Mikko Leno gets another fastest lap, but I do have to say Nick Thyssen also really fast here at the moment. His fastest lap, 19.435. So before Mikko Leno got his last lap in, Nick Thyssen actually held the fastest lap for a good while, actually doing sub 120s as well now. And actually Pepe Fuentes now as well, 1:19.744. So it's actually a lot of people slowly waking up and realizing, well, Mikko, you might have been onto something. We can also push this fast, but Mikko Leno is just 13 seconds clear by, you know, having done this pace from the very get-go.
And, you know, I'll jump in here with that performance advantage. Oh, no, Pepe Fuentes just had a mistake. So all of that great lap time that he was making up, he now drops back to what is 8th place in position. We're going to take a look at the replay, and there it was. Oh, I wonder if he's actually got damage. That was actually a double hit, so that was down in, what was the turn 4 complex. He was one of the cars that was flying, so back to my original point, you had commented that there's a couple cars in the 19s now. With these Lotus 79s, remember, there's no refilling. There's no pit stops during these, call it 45-minute races. About a 45-minute race is what they do. So as the car burns that fuel off, they get lighter and lighter and lighter. The tires, they actually don't fall off that much in terms of the overall pace. The grip level feels a little bit different, so you might have to drive the car just a touch different than what it was maybe on a brand new sticker set. But the benefit about that fuel load is now you've got a light car with the same grip level expectations, and Nicholas, you know that's just going to make it go faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with these cars as well, they were carrying, well, I think around 180 to 200 liters back then at the start of the race for the full distance Grand Prix. We're luckily here with Les Taylor Lane heating up the rear tires in a, well, not quite conventional way, but it is losing him quite a bit of time. So I think there might be a bit of pressure there. He wants to put pressure on others, but putting a bit of too much pressure on his rear tires for now.
I think I see a few activities over in YouTube chat land talking about Pauli Partonen, always one of our favorites here in the series. And of course, no, we do not see him out here. I know that he's taken a little bit more of a hiatus between the races. Enjoy the summer a little bit more. I like to think that, you know, he saw Togo Hisada coming in the rearview mirrors with those championships and was like, you know what, I need to get out of here before I get made fun of. But no, I think that I'm just having a little bit of fun at Pauli Partonen's expense. Always one of the best, and really was the one who showed Togo Hisada how to drive these cars, and always welcome back whenever he's available to come and race these Lotus 79s.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Finns, though, Janne Lehmann here right now, 17th place, looking to try and find a way about the Gitan liveried 16th place car of Barry West. Not quite able to get along there yet, but looking clean, looking fast, and, well, it's all about catching that slipstream, all about keeping it clean, and then using the next couple of corners to your advantage with, you know, honestly, the lack of dirty air that these cars overall have, because most of the downforce does come from the underbody, and ooh, that is not quite what you want to do. Touching the wall.
He just kind of got out a little bit wide there in turn number 2, didn't he? But you were mentioning pre-race about all the oopsies that happened there in turn number 2. When we talk about a street circuit, we typically don't think about elevation. And here at Belle Isle, there is not much elevation, but there is a crest in the road going from turn number 1 to turn number 2. So the drivers have to deal with all these bumps, as well as that one little crest right there over the, call it, exit hump of what is turn number 2. So lots going on, and when you got those concrete walls, there is zero margin for error. So think about it, if you go up and over a natural crest, the car gets unweighted. These drivers are having to manage the weight transfer, plus going to 100% throttle to get your acceleration down the straightaway, all while managing the car up and over that crest.
Yeah, quite tricky to execute properly. And, well, as I mentioned, it was the CEO of General Motors that was driving the pace car. So you'd think, well, you know, he's the CEO of the entire company. He should know how to drive a Corvette, right? Well, even putting down a little bit too much throttle with those cars. Oh, like putting a lot of throttle in now, like Taylor Lane is doing right now, with a lot of rear stepping out. He, unlike the CEO of GM, is, however, able to catch that oversteer and keep going. And yeah, it's a tricky circuit for everyone involved.
It certainly can be, and Dylan Freckleton doing his best right now to hold off Taylor Lane. Remember, Dylan made that excellent pass just a handful of laps ago, but the number 19 has yet to go anywhere, so he is trying to get that virtual podium back into his possession. He's done a great job to kind of slipstream up to the back of this purple number 8 car, but not quite close enough to make the move down the inside of the brake zone of turn number 3. And then this sector, call it sector 2, is pretty technical. And did Pepe Fuentes have more problems on the racetrack? He was doing so good charging his way up through the field, but it's kind of unraveled here in the last handful of laps for him.
Yeah, it was up into 6th place. I think he had a slowdown, as our good friend behind the scenes just mentioned to us. So Fuentes now trying to push, well, beyond the track limits as well, and unfortunately the stewards are saying, well, try again, sweetheart, but after you give back some time first, and these slowdowns can be quite vicious around here.
This driver right here has done one heck of a job to recover Shady Ahmad in the number 15. Remember, we were riding on board with him early on in the race through, call it this exact section of the racetrack, through the fountain, and he just jumped on the throttle maybe a little bit too eagerly and spun the car around, and actually another little bit of a loose moment right there. So Shady still struggling with those rear tires, and Pepe Fuentes actually pulls off to the side of the racetrack, lets that 3-pack by. And oh my goodness, here we go. Taylor Lane trying to make that move around the outside of turn number 3. Usually doesn't work, but he's starting to flex a little bit more muscle, try to get back up on that podium.
My God, definitely flexing something. I mean, at this point also flexing the suspension arms with that slight kiss on the outside with the wall. And flexing the tire sidewall, but my goodness, he's really, really pushing now. And I do wonder, 2 laps to go, 1 lap to go almost. Man, getting closer and closer and closer, but getting close is another thing to getting past the car ahead.
You had to kind of remind me. I just looked. It was actually Mikko Leno taking the white flag as we watched this battle for what is 3rd place, because it is about to erupt. I'll keep my eye on our leader, just make sure we don't miss that checkered flag, but full attack mode out of this number 19. You see Freckleton, the car in front, already starting to move defensive. Underneath the flag stand, Barney waves the white flag. 1 more lap to go.
Went a little bit wide into turn 1 and 2. So Freckleton making a slight mistake there. Lane looking for the outside of turn 3. Can't quite get alongside it though. Is he going for the over and under? That might be it. Can't quite get alongside though. So he still has to wait to make that move. And that's a big hit though.
Yeah, that was pretty hard into the wall out of, call it the exit of turn number 4. So that might be it for Taylor Lane as our leader rounds his way through the fountain section for the final time, accelerates out of what is turn number 11. Really only 1 more brake zone to go. You see the lapped cars directly in front. Not going to be an issue for this number 4. He started on pole position. He was so fast at the beginning of the race, I thought there was a timing and scoring issue. No, he is going to win by 8+ seconds. Mikko Leno in the number 4 car.
Absolutely stellar drive from him. Nick Thyssen comes across the line next in 2nd place. Really good drive from him after the first initial issues there. Freckleton gets away a little bit from Taylor Lane and gets it through the final corner. Brings home the purple liveried, purple and TVR liveried Lotus 79 in front of Taylor Lane.
Taylor put up a good fight, really was hanging out inside the top 3 the majority of the race, and maybe a few little happy wiggles right there for a Mickey Friesen. He was +6 on the day, and this is our biggest mover. Javier Mascara looks like he's going to hang on to what is the 8th place position, but he is up 10 spots on the day. I do see a couple of others that are up 10 as well, but Javier was the furthest finishing forward. Daniel Gallus with a nice top 10 effort. But I mean, Nicholas, while the rest of the cars are kind of closing out this race, it was pretty typical Belle Isle. We had a great race on our hands throughout the middle of the field, but I count, 10, maybe even 11 cars knocked out of this one, and it looks like there might even be 1 more. That's Alec Cunningham getting some heavy damage on the final couple corners.
Oh, and that is oh my goodness.
He can make it. There's still 2 wheels attached to the ground. He'll get there.
He's got an oval setup running for that thing. I think Enzo Ferrari is rolling in his grave like a kebab, seeing that suspension alignment right now. But yeah, Alec Cunningham gets across the start-finish line after a last lap crash. Well, still very well done. And also, right in front of him, Jan Riemann, actually the highest climber, 12 places after not setting a lap and starting in dead last, gets it up to 17th.
Nicely done there, and you're right, he does pick up +2, so I misspoke. Actually, biggest mover will be Yanni Lehman. Let's go through our official results on the day. It was Mikko Leino dominating out front, and that 6.8 seconds is not representative. It was up above 15, maybe 17 seconds at some points, and he just kind of cruised home. In fact, that last lap time, a 1:26, so he was just fully off of the gas in victory mode. Nick Thyssen in second place with Dylan Freckleton rounding out your podium in third, was able to hold off Taylor Lane back there for a fourth place finish. Lucas Lodato, always welcome here, a Formula Car superstar, hangs out with a top 5 finish. Mickey Friesen with some happy wiggles in 6th. Gabri Martinez 7th. Javier Mascara, good day to finish 8th. Shady Ahmad recovers to 9th. And Daniel Gallus rounding out your top 10.
And we have the next couple of positions. Pepe Fuentes in 11th place after picking up a couple of slowdowns and making some mistakes, unfortunately. Kurt Klapper in 12th place, followed by Jean-François Boscu, who was less than a second behind him. Next up, we have Keith Herner in 14th place. Matthew Cockerham and Barry West in 15th and 16th, a battle that we saw quite a bit of throughout the race. Yanni Lehmann, our highest climber, as recently said, in 17th. Alec Cunningham in 18th. Gernot Fritsche gets in one lap behind the leader, somehow without a rear wing for the entire race. And Jos Karel Ghislaine finishes off the top 20.
We do have, call it 9 more cars here, but unfortunately everybody had problems out there and did not finish the race. I think actually Jack Wells as well as Olenchik actually finished today, but those were the last 2 that actually saw the checkered flag. Everybody else here had some problems. And before we get to our interviews, I just want to say hey to everybody out there in YouTube chat land. Thank you so much for watching all of our broadcasts here on the iRacing channel as well as GSRC. Couldn't do it without all of the fans watching, and of course all the competitors out there who should be getting back out onto the racetrack. Looking at you, Pauli Partanen, here soon enough. But looks like we've got some interviews that are going to be joining us. We're going to start off with Dylan Freckleton, who finished here in the 3rd place position. Dylan, a nice move late in the race to get you up on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it was more Taylor made a little mistake. I'd kind of been following pretty much the whole race, waiting to see if they did make a mistake. I don't think I was any quicker. I was just about able to keep up. I think you saw, Taylor was able to keep up with me for the rest of the race and had a good go at trying to get it back. But yeah, it was good fun.
Well, and, I see that Taylor is ready for his interview as well, so I'm probably sure we're going to be talking to him. What did you think about the battle between you and himself? Because it seemed to be pretty much all race long, and then, like you said, a little bit late in the race, it unraveled for him.
Yeah, I don't know that it unraveled that much. I think, really good pace the whole race long. I was really impressed, actually. They got me off the start. It backed up a little bit into the first corner. I'm not sure exactly why, but I ended up sort of side by side, and then for the first couple of laps, I could tell something was going to kick off because there were just too many cars in too tight a space. But yeah, no, the whole race, I think Taylor had really good pace. I was pushing pretty much to my limit to be able to keep up. It was just, unfortunate they made a little mistake, but really good race, really good fun.
Well, and I don't want to pick on you at all here, but you said you were pretty much at your maximum pace. Those 2 out front, they did lap times 19.2, 19.0. Where is that speed coming from out of those cars?
Talent. That's the bit I'm lacking. It's just I've struggled a little bit with this track compared to a couple of the latest ones. I just haven't felt confident enough to push it quite as hard as they probably are, and obviously skill comes into it as well.
Well, I think you're plenty skilled, Dylan, so don't get frustrated at it. Love seeing you on the podiums, and I know that race wins are plenty in your future as well, so keep at it. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to?
I'll just thank, again, as always, the whole Lotus 79 community. It's a fantastic series to be part of. It's fantastic to come and race it pretty much every week. And obviously you guys at GSRC do a great job as well.
Well, Dylan Freckleton coming home with a nice podium here in 3rd place at Belle Isle. And I think it's going to bring up our next interviewer. It is going to be Taylor Lane standing by with Nicholas Hillebrand.
Taylor gave us a very good fight in the last closing moments of the race. How are you feeling?
A little bit sweaty. That was a very hot race. That was.
I can't blame you. Well, Red was stepping out all over the place, and actually touching the walls quite a few times. Were you also fighting with damage towards the end?
No, just fighting myself really. I was a little bit annoyed with myself that I made the silly mistake and lost the third place. I was trying absolutely everything I could to try and take the fight back to Dylan, but he defended that perfectly. That was a really good battle at the end. I had great fun.
Well, it looked like a lot of fun as well. And, well, I mean, there was a chance into turn 3 after he went a little bit wide into turn 1 and 2, but not quite able to make it stick. Overall, though, what was the biggest challenge here this race? Was it the track? Was it the other drivers? Or, well, was it the fight against yourself, as you said?
I think it's a mixture of the fight with the track and a fight with yourself, because you start getting comfortable, and then that's when you start playing with the walls, and that's when issues happen. But this track is so bumpy that you're flying into some of these braking zones, and the whole track is just bouncing in your peripheral vision, so you can't see your braking points that well. And it's like, if I hit the brakes, is it going to lock? Is it going to turn? You're basically just doing everything and hoping that it's going to get into the turn and you get out the other side.
Well, nevertheless, even with the mistake you made that allowed your opponent to get through, you did hope well enough. 2 places gained, and still almost got the podium. So, yeah, hoping for a good result in the end did kind of work out. Are there any shout-outs that you want to give?
Shout out to you guys for the broadcast. It's great every week watching this back. People in the background in the Discord that make all this happen. Because this isn't a league, this is official stuff on iRacing. I think this series would be dead on iRacing if it wasn't for the community. So shout out to the community. Also, like, give a shout out to my partner Poppy. She would kill me if I didn't give her a shout out.
Love to hear it. It's always the good support from the family behind as well. Taylor, congratulations again for 4th place, and hopefully see you next week.
Thank you.
Well, I think that is going to do it for the interviews here at the end of this Belle Isle race. Of course, congratulations go to Mikko Leno. The next race here for this series is actually going to be Barcelona 1 week from today. That is August 24th. Same exact time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern here. So we go from what is a street fight circuit to a little bit more of a classic Formula One circuit. And Nicholas, I'm going to bring you back in here because we're going to talk a little bit about this race versus next race. 2 totally different tracks out here. I mean, we've searched for high downforce at Detroit. We're going to be going a little bit more drafty over there at Catalunya. But either way, these 79s are going to put on a show.
Absolutely, and Catalunya is one of those really, really fast circuits. With the ground effect here, they should be able to run very low wings. So I assume that it'll be quite entertaining.
Of course, they're running that classic layout with no chicane on the back end. So yeah, lots of passing opportunities. But thank you so much for coming out and watching us here for the Sunday Grand Prix series at Detroit. And of course, thanks to the team today. That includes Nicholas, Christian, and Dougie. And make sure to check out everything that GSRC has to offer, as well as everything listed on that YouTube channel, so you don't miss a moment out here. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.